Before we get started tonight on the episode of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, I want to introduce y'all to a couple of our sponsors. The Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team. The Warriors drop on one to the Kings this weekend as they enter the final two games of the season at 4-4. So hopefully the boys will bounce back next week. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organizations. Players play into play and host to so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get film or to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing the same shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on the quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pros a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you've been waiting for as an athlete. You can find them on social media at Twitter at SoCal Warriors, on Instagram at Southern California _Warriors, and on Facebook, Southern California Warriors. Background Check International. Are you looking to background check on a new hire? Let Kit Freeman take care of that for you. Kit founded and has managed Background Check International since 1994. And he is here to help you. Well, we reached the end of our NBA preview series. Finishing off with the Pacific Division tonight. Can the Lakers, with the addition of Russell Westbrook and others, getting back to title contention? Can the Phoenix Suns get back to the championship game as well? Or was it this fool's gold that happened to them last year? Golden State, what's the status of them? Can Curry, Draymond, and others carry the load till Klay Thompson gets back? The Clippers, same boat as the Warriors. Can Paul George and others carry the load until Kawhi Leonard gets back healthy? And then for the Sacramento Kings, can they just make a run at all? We'll talk about that and much more here on Fast Break, live on IE Sports Radio. Your direct feed for that as all is sports, and you're welcome to join us. Join us as you shout tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Lots of things to talk about. Another division preview. So, we're going to just hop on into it. D-Lock, how you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing pretty good, man. My weekend started pretty early Thursday night when my Bucks won. Moved to 5-1, so I was pretty excited about that. And the Magic didn't look too bad during the preseason. I do like what Jalen Suggs is looking like. Doing pretty good, man. A hell of a weekend going on, especially with football going on as well. And also, WNBA, Chicago. Congratulations to them. Chicago Sky starting out with their first WNBA title.
Yes, sir. Let's hop on that real quick. The Chicago Sky, who watching the series, and I didn't get a chance to watch too much today, because I had to work. But I kind of felt they had the series in control for the most part in my eyes. And like you said, congratulations to them. You got Candace Parker going back to her home city of Chicago, leaving the Sparks after all those years. And people are saying, like, damn, how LA let her go like that? And, sometimes that's nature of the beast, especially in the WNBA. When some of these ladies get, later in their career, they kind of go other places. We seen in the past. Like Tina Thompson going to the Sparks and, et cetera, and all that stuff. Just using her as an example.
Right.
But I always felt in this series, Chicago kind of had it their way, except for that, that game one. But they kind of had the control. And look at tonight, Brittany Griner, she had a solid game. But it seemed like your other two for your big three didn't really they shot were pretty poorly. Don and Taurasi, especially 4 for 16, going for 16 points. But I gotta give credit to Chicago. Gotta give credit to them. Candace Parker had 13 rebounds. You know, Cooper had 10 points. I'm trying to pull up this lady's name. Come on now, come on.
I know who really played good. That was exceptional. Well, they had a hell of a game. Was Allie Quigley.
Mm-hmm.
To go, 50% from 3-point land, and you put up, all your free throws, and you drop 26 points. So she played a hell of a game as well. But to me, kind of was a shocker at first. I mean, I know what Candace Parker is, and what type of player she is. But man, to be honest, man, I'm thinking that Phoenix Mercury got a big three over there in Brittany Griner, Skylar Diggins-Smith, and Deanna Taurasi.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of shocked, but at the same time, I watched most of that game, seeing it, doing it down to the end. Candace Parker really showed you the impact that she can make, So she played a huge part, and that's good for that city, man. Funny enough, while they were playing the NBA Finals, WNBA Finals today, the Packers and the Bears were playing.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time. So I'm pretty sure, you got a big rivalry going on over here, which is like over 100-year rivalry, I believe, with the Bears and the Packers. And then you got, a chance to win an NBA title going on at the same time or around the same time. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people had to make a tough decision in that city today, which game they wanted to head to. But we see that they did make history today.
Yeah, and then Flanders Vandersloot almost had a triple double tonight. She been playing phenomenal the whole series, and she had 15 assists. That was very key. 9 rebounds, 10 points, and just one turnover. But she ain't really been turning the ball much in that series, and that's kind of been key, for Chicago's success in that series. Her not turning the ball over, her not letting Diggins-Smith, Taurasi get their chances in that backcourt. And you take care of the ball, especially in basketball. If you take care of the ball, the game more likely kind of sways in your favor. Plus free throws. That's my big hiccup, my big thing in basketball, free throws. That's just a big thing for me. But anyways, going on with that, and you got a great recipe for success. So, congratulations to the Sky, Candace Parker. Like I said, first year coming in. Granted, it was kind of seesaw with Chicago, but they came in, did what they had to do, and like you talked about in the past in previous shows, once you get to the playoffs, anything can happen.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. When you get to the playoffs, we've seen it happen many times on the NBA side, so we actually seen it on the WNBA side. So, but this is the reason why they play the game in all sports. I don't know if you had this experience before, but we see something that happened in the sports, and people say, "Oh, well, this is rigged,"
Yeah.
because one team is so highly told to win that you would think that it's just no way that they lose. I know my experience was the Patriots, when they played the Giants a while back, they were undefeated. The only team ever to be undefeated, I believe, was 18-0 or something like that. Then they played the Giants last game of the season to continue their undefeated season. Then they played them in the Super Bowl and they lose. So that is something that people believe is guaranteed when you watch sports. But this is the reason why you play the game and why we love sports so much. You can look at the Phoenix team and say, well, hey, they got the big three. There's no way they're going to lose. And lo and behold, you see what happened. So congratulations to Chicago Sky, man. I mean, I think that's a big thing, not only for the city, but for the sport itself. I think this is going to have a lot more people watch WNBA. That was definitely needed, especially when you see somebody like a Candace Parker leave the Sparks and go back home to Chicago and help them to a victory that year. So that is something that is really big, and I think is going to pay off, for the future.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And, like you mentioned about the city of Chicago, that kind of, in the sports world up there, they kind of need that. They needed something. And, I've tweeted about the Chicago Bears, even though I'm not a Bears fan. How they doing with Justin Fields. The coaching staff and front office doing him disservice. And then, like you mentioned, they lose today against the Green Bay Packers. You got the Bulls that just kind of just there at the moment. And then go down the list. The White Sox, they don't get bounced at the playoffs. Cubs, they turn belly up in the pool. They stink this year. Who else I'm thinking? The Blackhawks. They've been down the dumps here the past couple years. So, you look at all that, and then you kind of look to the ladies here. All the men fell, and the ladies kind of stepped up to the plate, in a sense. But, hey, they did their thing. Miss Cooper got the MVP. So I think you kind of will build around her for next year and kind of try and do it again. But D-Lock, we are in our midst of the last part of our NBA preview series. We got the chat going on. Got the preview predictions down already. Miss Gina in the chat, thank you for joining in with us, ma'am. She got the Dubs all the way. Mr. Terry Rodriguez got the Lakers all the way. So, you got some different opinions right now. This division, D-Lock, kind of parallel with the Atlantic what we did last week. Could you possibly see the NBA champion coming out this division, or at least contending? At least coming out the Western Conference. I guess one of the powerhouses in the East. Do you see that, or you going elsewhere?
Well, for me, I definitely see this as where a team can come out of, because there's so many. We see what the Suns did, and we see what the Lakers can do and what they've done for the offseason. So for me, I definitely see a team can represent the Western Conference and NBA Finals out of this division. They also probably can win the whole thing, to be honest. And that's just basically because of the fact that we do know that LeBron is in this division.
Yeah, you look up down these teams. If a couple things go right with Golden State, with Klay Thompson coming back, if he's healthy, that's a big thing. And no hiccups coming back in his rehab and whatnot. That would go a long way for Golden State to make that one last run before the keys get turned over to the young group. The Clippers, I think they got to show some things until Kawhi gets back. And good for them, for Steve Ballmer, crew, all that, to keep, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George in the fold. That's real big right there. If you want to have sustained success, especially in LA, and visibility, Kawhi branching out a little bit, to commercials and stuff like that, you need to keep those guys in the fold, and credit to them for keeping those guys in the fold. Let me ask you this about the Kings before we get to our predictions. Do you think Luke Walton's a good fit in the NBA?
I think he's decent. I feel like with Luke Walton, he's still trying to find that. He's still trying to run that Golden State offense. Where they literally live and die by the three. I don't know if you've noticed that. But for me, that seems like what he's trying to do is just say, hey, we're going to just try to shoot every three-pointer that we can. So for me, I don't know how long that works and if it can last. But that's what I noticed about him. And for me, I don't see how that's going to continue to work when clearly there's times where you see many games where they're literally jacking up half their shots of threes. Like he's making it seem as if he has a Steph and Clay in Sacramento, and he doesn't. Right now, it's the fact that Buddy Hield is, coming off the bench for the most part. A lot of the times, remember he was a starter at one point. I think Buddy Hield's a hell of a player. It just seems like he doesn't know what he wants to do with him. De'Aaron Fox. We know what De'Aaron Fox can do. But it just seems as if, he's more so let's just jack up threes. And Luke Walton, his offense is we're going to jack as many threes up as we can. And then hopefully we're just going to live and die by it. So I don't know, man. It's like I'm still trying to figure out his actual coaching, the way that he coaches, his own personal way, because right now it just seems like it's still like a Steve Kerr, momentum type play, Steve Kerr type offense to where, okay, well, when he has, Steph and Klay Thompson, he jacked threes up all day, and he feels like he's got that same group in Sacramento. I mean, Harrison Barnes, we know what Harrison Barnes can be. I like Tyrese Halliburton, but I think he's a scorer, more of a shooter. So, but again, it's like he's like depending on the three entirely too much. And that's the only problem I have with Luke Walton. So I think he could be a better coach. I just think he needs to expand his offense.
I think he's more of a college coach in my eyes. And I'm not saying he can't coach in the NBA, but I just think when LeBron got to LA a couple years ago and Luke Walton was still there, it just didn't mix, and I think people kind of look at him and think he got the chops to do in the NBA. And I think he does, but I think LeBron kind of killed that. And luckily for him, he kind of bounced back quickly to Sacramento. But things really haven't gone well for him up there yet. And with this division right now, where De'Aaron Fox is getting an extension. Tyrese Halliburton, like you mentioned, having a good rookie year. You found like a diamond in the rough and Richaun Holmes. So, yeah, those guys are nice. But can you overtake Golden State? Can you overtake Phoenix, the Clippers, Lakers in this division? Gonna be tough. Can you do enough to maybe sneak into the playoff game? Good possibility. But then you got to think about other teams like Memphis, New Orleans. Who else can think of? Maybe Minnesota. They can get their stuff together. All those teams. It's going to be tough. But I go back to what I said about the Crooks process about 3 years ago before Nate Oates got hired. I mentioned that episode that, yeah, Alabama should take it, maybe, kick the tires on them maybe and see what his interest is. I just throwing out candidates, throw out candidates. But I think he will fit better in a college basketball setting. I think he got some name. Everybody know who his dad is. You know, if he found a nice job in the West Coast, that'd be perfect for him. Since he's a West Coast guy. God knows those teams in the Pac-12, they need some names, some juice. So if I was him, if things don't work out this season in the NBA, or if he gets let's go mid-season, whatever, I'll be trying to find a college job. I'm not trying to look at going to the NBA. I'm sure the NBA is more easier to deal with in a sense, but in the end, you're dealing with grown men. And I think in college,
right.
Playing half the games if you make all the way to the championship game, but it's not. I'm not saying it's pressure, but you got time to kind of nurture and stuff like that. In my words, and I think he can grow those in the college level better than the NBA. Like you mentioned, he's trying to run another person's style with these group of players. And I don't think, kind of look at it as a coach and watching the guys as a basketball guy, it's not really clicking that way. The draft pick of Davion Mitchell from Baylor, strange pick. Would you got Fox and Halliburton in the fold already? Where are you going to play him? And those three guys, before we get to our preview picks, those three guys need the ball in their hand most of the time. And it's kind of strange they went with another guard there and whatnot, and now you kind of stuck in this situation. I'm rooting for him. I like him. But, and one more thing. I was kind of, maybe he didn't try to push for this, but kind of surprised that he didn't kind of push to get the Arizona job. When Sean Miller finally got the axe. Go back to his alma mater. I was surprised he didn't kind of push to go, out to Tucson for that job. But, anyways, I'll let you go first in the picks. Do you like to go first again?
Oh yeah, this is a tough one. I've been thinking about it all week, so I've already got my setup right now. So this is probably one of the toughest divisions to go. That's why we did it last. So starting off with the team we were just talking about, I got the Sacramento Kings being at 5. I like, like I said, Tyrese Halliburton. I like, Aaron Fox, a couple other guys they got, but it's just with this team. For one, they're in one of the toughest divisions, or if not the toughest. And it just seems like Luke Walton is just still kind of up in the air what he's going to do with this team. Like I said, his offense is just strictly a live or die by the three. And for me, it doesn't seem like they have the guys that can be consistent enough at that three-point land, like a Steph and like a Klay Thompson. They're good guys. I think they can put up a lot of points, but the fact is, leaning on that, it's like I feel like that offense needs to be put around Tyrese Halliburton a little bit more as a scorer, not a shooter. I like Harrison Barnes, but Harrison Barnes is very inconsistent.
Yeah.
He would literally show up some days or some games, and then he would just be completely done for a couple weeks, and we won't see him again until they play Portland or somebody, or maybe Charlotte. So, Rashawn Holmes, I really like him, but going to get a Tristan Thompson, I'm still questioning that move. Alex Len, he's probably not going to see the court that much. Dentarius Davidson, I like him. And also Davion Mitchell. But this team, I think that for one, they're already in a tough division. So now you have to get them to be clicking on all aspects, especially if they're going to be living down by the 3. I just don't see that happening right now. All right, so this is where it gets tough. So the fourth spot, because the Kings were like a complete drop off. I got the LA Clippers.
Ooh.
Now, a reason for this is because clearly the number one name in the fact that Kawhi Leonard is not healthy and is not playing, so we don't know exactly when we're going to see him. It's a possibility that he could play later on in the season. But to be honest with you, I just don't trust Paul George to be the guy that can just storm them into a top 2 spot in this division. I don't see that. Reggie Jackson could be, a hell of a player as we've seen. Eric Bledsoe is there, so he's going to play a big piece. I think that the missing piece, and I just keep going to it, is Kawhi. I mean, he's not a big, he's a big scorer. He's a big piece here, and without him, I just think that this team takes a massive step back. Now, if they were in any Eastern division, they would easily be top 2. But we're talking about a division with the team that represented the NBA Finals last year in the West and Phoenix Suns, and then the NBA champions 2 years ago in the Los Angeles Lakers. And we're talking about a division with the Golden State Warriors as well. So for me, I do have them at 4. I do like Terrence Mann to be consistent more. The fact that we ain't got Justice Winslow tells me that they're probably doing that more so the fact that expecting Kawhi to not be there until later on down the season. So I always liked Justin Winslow, to be honest. He just never panned out to what I thought he could be. You know what I mean? Like out of college. I just thought he was a much better player, so hopefully he makes that improvement. But I definitely got them sitting at 4. Marcus Morris is going to be better, but that's just where they are at this moment. At 3, and this is where it gets really hectic. I got the Golden State Warriors.
Okay.
Klay Thompson is going to come back and he's going to be healthy at some point. But the fact is, the one person I just don't see doing too much of a lot for this team is Andrew Wiggins. It seems like Andrew Wiggins is just it's like he's at the wrong team right now. Like it's like he doesn't fit there for some reason. And I just at this moment, you went and got Otto Porter, who I like. Jonathan Kuminga, who's going to be a solid piece of him, is going to play a huge part. Draymond is going to be Draymond. But to me, Steph can't do it all. Now, he's a hell of a player, yes. But to take them a long way in this division is going to be a stretch. It's going to be pretty hard to do. So, I want to see what the hell James Wiseman does with this team. Like, at this point, I'm trying to see him be more effective and see how they get him involved. Going to get, I think sometimes I mess his name up, Nemanja Bjelica.
Yeah.
I want to see what this move of getting him does for this team. Because right now, I honestly don't see him really getting too many minutes like that. They also went and got Andre Iguodala. So, where does he fit at? So, I have them at 3. And again, when Klay comes back, a 400%, we can be having a different conversation. But, in a division, like I said, with the top 2 teams being to the NBA Finals the past 2 years, without a healthy Klay, I definitely don't see this team dethroning the Suns or the Lakers. So at number 2, after going through the tough part, I got the Phoenix Suns. They brought everybody back. They just, I think I sent to you, yes, Mikal Bridges just got paid a massive deal.
Yep.
Elfrid Payton is over there, which is a pretty solid piece. I like what Cameron Payne looked like during the playoffs. Jay Crowder, a great piece. This team could go back to the NBA Finals, to be honest. I feel like getting the biggest offseason pickup, but kind of a surprise a little bit. But I want to see how it plays out is getting JaVale McGee. It seems like they're trying to, stay big down low. Frank the Tank, as in Frank Kaminsky, wasn't doing too much with them last year. Also, still have Dario Saric there, so they have a lot of bigs. We know, what Chris Paul can do, but also we know that Chris Paul can be off, and they can let Devin Booker take the point guard position sometimes, and also have Cameron play it as well. Getting Landry Shamet was a question mark for me. I guess they're going to use Shamet and Everett Payton to learn from Chris Paul, but the fact is, I think that this team goes as Devin Booker and Chris Paul go. They got the defense. To be honest with you, I felt like, and I think we talked about it during the finals and prior to, I felt like this team was the team that was going to win the NBA Finals last year. I just felt like last year was their year. They came out hot, and then Giannis just took over. So for me, I like this team to come back and be a threat to any West team. Now they did face an injured Lakers team last year, so I think that probably did help them just a little bit. But they got the pieces to go back to the NBA Finals. Now, obviously, we're talking about who we don't know who they'll face on the East or who, but I think if they did face the Milwaukee again or perhaps Brooklyn, that's going to be a big problem for them. So, but again, I do have them being number 2. And at the top, I got the Lakers. The remapping of this roster just put them a lot higher to me. We've seen what Kuzma did last year and the year before, so it was just only a matter of time until he was gone. The Montrezl Harrell experiment didn't work out as planned. So they did a smart thing first. They went and got Rondo back. They went and got Dwight Howard. They got the guys that know their role in LA and played the perfect role for them when they won the NBA Finals a couple of years ago. So they got those guys back. They knew that was a huge piece for them. Now, another thing that they really needed that we talked about all last year, they needed shooters. They went and grabbed a Malik Monk, who is he can play very well off the bench. Grabbing the Kendrick Nunn, I think that was more so a defensive purpose, but also he can play. He can be a shooter as well. Taylor Horton Tucker, I'm still waiting for him to develop into that guy that LeBron talks about. These guys are hyped about. A sleeper person that they got is Kent Bazemore.
Yeah.
I feel like he can come in and give them a good role. He can get points if they need. Now, he had a couple good games with Golden State last year. It's just with those role of guys, with the Jordan Poole, Steph Curry, and a couple other guys he had, it was kind of hard for him to find his rhythm with them. So that was a big piece. And obviously, you got the big guys in Carmelo and Russ. Now, the biggest question is when is this going to pan out with Russ, AD, and LeBron? We've seen them. They went 0-6 during the preseason.
Yeah.
So yeah. So right now, there's a couple games that they played, and you can see that the disconnection and Russ being Russ, who turns the ball over from time to time, they have a couple disconnections there. So the biggest question is, how long is it going to take for these guys to get on the same page? Now, once they start to click, I think we see the NBA champs. But how long does that take? That's the biggest question. You got a couple other guys that I could have mentioned as well, like getting Sekou Doumbouya. That was a big piece. They got a couple bigs down there with that. And Wayne Ellington, who I like. So they got a couple guards there, but the main crew as in the Russ, LeBron, AD, Carmelo. To see these guys mesh together is going to be very interesting to see how it looks. But I think it's going to take a little time. Now, because there's so much talent, I think they kind of run away with the West. I think there's a couple other teams there. But it just, for me, there's just way too much talent on this roster right now, man. Now, what's going to make it easier, too, is the fact that Rondo and Dwight Howard has played here. So you don't have to really help them with their roles as much. So, for me, I like the Lakers to win this division and also represent the West in the NBA Finals. Like I said, the Phoenix could cause some issues. But, again, I got the Kings being there at 5, Clippers at 4, Warriors at 3, Suns at 2, and the Lakers at the top.
All right. For me, like you mentioned, the Kings number 5, and we kind of talked about it in league before we got to our predictions, but I think one thing for them is, Buddy Hield seemed kind of unhappy when Halliburton got put in the starting spot. And you got to gauge where he's at, or maybe try and find a trade spot for him. But, the funny thing is, they had a spot for him at the LA Lakers, but that got pulled on the rug when they went after Russell Westbrook. I'll talk about more of that in a second. But you look at a lineup for them. If I was Coach Luke Walton, I have Fox and Halliburton in my backcourt. Barnes at the 3. And this is a guy that really got to show his worth, D-Lock. Marvin Bagley. He seemed like everybody else in that 2018 class has lapped, like a NASCAR race, has lapped him about 20 times over. And you got the other guys kind of in the pecking order racing, trying to be like the new top dog in the league. Whether it's Luka Doncic, DeAndre Ayton, Trae Young, and others. Bagley, I don't know. I kind of had high hopes for him. But he really has not materialized at all in his NBA career. And I don't know what the future holds for him at all. Can he stay healthy to kind of contribute? That's a very valid question. But if he's not healthy, let me put it to you this way. If he can show that he's number two overall, like people envision him to be, they'll go a long way for Sacramento's season. But I don't want the Kings to do this also. I don't want to see him have a good year and then them paying him the max. That should not happen at all. That should not happen at all. If he has a good year, give him like a player option for the next year and see if he can do it again. If not, let him go. Or if somebody else come in and bids in next summer, let him go. He has not shown that he could be a franchise guy for y'all. And don't bother wasting your money. And then there's that Richaun Holmes at center. Like I said, down in the rough, real great player. I won't be surprised if teams start calling, Sacramento to snatch Holmes and Hill away from them for their contending teams. So that's another thing, kind of keep on down the road. This is where it gets tough.
You know it.
I got the Warriors at 4.
Ooh.
I know Gina probably gonna cuss me out over that, but I got the Warriors at 4. Steph Curry can do a lot of things, D-Lock. But he's also a player that needs some help as well. And that's why I think, Klay Thompson kind of really compliment him so well. I think one big thing about Steve Kerr, we mentioned about Steve Kerr earlier. My thing with him, what he did last season with James Wiseman, was very wrong. And what I mean by that, you gotta let the kid play. You can't pull him out for every little mistake and stuff like that. You gotta let him play. If you didn't think, he can help and contribute with you, you should have traded him. Or not trade that pick, excuse me. To get a veteran player that you felt like that should be a better option for y'all squad. But these 3 names, Wiseman, Moses Moody, and Kuminga. Steve Kerr got to get great production out of those 3 young kids. Not just for this season, but for seasons beyond. Because you look at this, D-Lock. Sacramento, we don't know what they're going to be. The Clippers, you look down that roster. They really don't got like a young guy to hang their hat on. To kind of carry the team. Suns, they got Booker for the fold and Ayton down for the fold for the future. Lakers, same thing. They really don't got a player down the line that you can hang your hat on. So for the Warriors, you kind of in a great position, in a sense. I know some people don't like, Golden State being in this position, but I kind of like it. You got something old, but you got something new. But Steve Kerr, my words, D-Lock, and we're going to talk about this over the course of the year. Steve Kerr got to let those young kids develop. You can't hold them back. If Moses Moody is better at Jordan Poole, or playing better than Jordan Poole, you got to play Moses Moody over him. I'm sorry. We seen Moses Moody tear up the SEC last year as a freshman. You got to let the kid ball. Kuminga, I don't know too much. I've watched some film on him. A project player in a sense. But I get a player, that should fit in with that system. You got to let that kid develop. If he's showing promise, you got to let him in there. And so much so, if he shows great development, you could possibly push out Draymond out the door come next offseason. And then, like I said, the big one's Wiseman. You gotta let that kid develop. We've seen the impact that DeAndre Ayton had come last playoff season, this past playoffs. If he can develop like that, control the paint, play well down low, which I think he can, it'll go a long way for Golden State. But those reasons, I got them at 4. Oh, side note. I know we talked about Kyrie last week, D-Lock, but Mr. Wiggins, and we said this last week, Kyrie can prove why he don't believe in the vaccine and stuff. But for Andrew Wiggins, come on, dog. You're not fooling nobody. You're not. Trying to get religious exemption. Come on, dude. You better do, selling snow to somebody in Egypt. Come on now. And, going to the chat, Gina's saying, Wiseman needs to prove that he ain't a bust. I don't think he's a bust. I think coaching may help him back. That's the main thing. It's more coaching than him not being a bust. And I hope I'm not wrong. I mean, I'm not wrong on this, but maybe Steve Curry ain't that type of coach to kind of develop players like that. But we shall see. Number 3 for me, real quickly. The LA Clippers. I know you brought up Paul George, D-Lock. He has no choice, but he got to be that team to keep that team afloat till Kawhi Leonard gets healthy. You know, minus Kawhi Leonard, I think they'll probably start Reggie Jackson, Paul George, and I thought about putting Terrence Mann in that starting lineup, but you gotta get your money's worth out of Luke Kennard. So I say throw him in the starting lineup. Marcus Morris as well, Zubac, roll with them, see what you get. Terrence Mann really showed that he can play in this league, especially in the playoffs, especially in the Utah series. So you got it. Great young kid off the bench. Eric Bledsoe, he's got to show that he can find himself and play very well. And I think if he come in and do that, I think that will go great for this team. Serge Ibaka, if his back goes okay, is okay, great. But that's a big question mark for me. What's his health status like? Because if he's not healthy, that depth down low kind of takes a hit. And we know they don't play Zubac a lot of minutes like that. So that's the thing, a concern of mine going forward with this Clipper team. Number 2, Phoenix. Well, I'm on the fence on this, D-Lock. I want to make a switch. I'm going to put the Lakers at number 2.
What?
I was thinking about this all day. I was like, here's my beef with the Lakers. Not beef, but my concern. 6 years ago, getting the guys they get would be great. And Melo, Bazemore, Westbrook, Ellington, Dwight Howard, DeAndre Jordan, Trevor Ariza. Great. But this ain't 6 years ago. And we're talking about the offseason. I like the signing of Kendrick Nunn, Malik Monk. I like that. I got those guys for cheap. I like that. If I was doing the starting lineup, I would do Westbrook, Monk, Bazemore, James, and Davis. I know there's been reports saying they might put Ellington in that starting lineup. You need some young blood in that starting lineup. And with Horton Tucker out at the moment, I put Monk in there. He has a lot of potential. A guy that's going to really took that less money to really prove himself to maybe be in LA for the long term. If they want to get back to time contention, their shot selection has got to be great. Hopefully Westbrook don't shoot him out of games at sometimes. He ain't the world's best shooter. When he's on, he's on. Kind of like LeBron. If he's on, he's on. And I pray to God that Anthony Davis has figured out his lower body situation. If that's good and dandy, that'll go a long way for this team. But if not, kind of like what happened with the playoffs in Phoenix. Stick a fork in them. I got them number 2. I hope Frank Vogel can figure this thing out. And like I said, some of the veterans they got, I hope they contribute very well. But, the shooting is a little bit concerned. The 3-point shooting, you got scores on here. And the only 3-point shooters you really got are Ellington and Monk. And I wish they kind of got another young guy to bring on this roster to kind of balance it out a little bit more. But I got the Lakers number 2. Phoenix, I got number 1. We're talking about Bridges. He got the contract extension. Great for him. 4 years, $90 million. I think the thing to keep eye on for them is how much you're going to pay DeAndre Ayton. And with some of the other guys in his rookie class getting a $200 million contract, you got it. You got to show that love for him, in a sense, or close to it. Which it's kind of strange that they haven't got this deal done yet with Ayton. But I think they got a great thing going on. They got a very solid starting lineup. They got balance to that team. Paul Booker, Bridges, Crowder, Ayton, Cam Johnson come off the bench, who really played well in his rookie year. I know people kind of, trying to get these young kids out of school, but you got a kid in Johnson that plays like 3-4 years at Pitt in North Carolina, and he come in and contribute well for a contending team. Look where he's at in his NBA career. Payne, great backup at guard. Sarge, when he gets time, it'll be great as well. Shamet, he's going to be really interesting to watch. But I just think Phoenix going to just be a couple shades better in my eyes. And that's why I got them. I did the Citron rule. I put them number 1. I think the only thing that kind of will trip up them if Chris Paul gets hurt. And they'll like DeAndre Ayton get hurt as well. But Chris Paul finally got over the hump. He got to the championship game. Now it's kind of repeat and get there again. So I got Phoenix number 1, Lakers number 2, Clippers number 3, Warriors number 4, Kings number 5. Real quick, what you think about that?
Pretty good. The biggest thing for me, that's the reason why I had the Suns down like that, is Chris Paul. If he goes down with an injury, then everything fades back. So you just never know with him. So that's just one thing that's very inconsistent with him. That's kind of what played a part in me getting him at 2. But I like that order. Again, the Lakers, I can see why you put them at 2 as well. Fact is, that crew hasn't they haven't gelled yet. And also, like you said, it was a couple of years ago and they had this trade and these free agent signings, then we might be talking about a different scenario if these guys are a little younger. But we are looking at a group of guys that are kind of, in a sense, in a situation over their prime, a couple guys. So, for me, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. If AD can stay healthy, I think he's going to – they got a lot. Then they got DeAndre Jordan, too. Like, they got a lot of guys there. So, the rotation is going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. But this is the toughest division, man. Like, this division it was really tough to pick for me.
And before we close out, no shade to DeAndre Jordan. But it's like, this past season, he really didn't do much for Sacramento, and he was making all that money. Not Sacramento, Brooklyn. And he was linked to the Lakers when he got traded and released from by Detroit. I was like thinking like, ain't nobody else you could have grabbed. He really didn't do much. Like, what's the point? You could have got a younger guy that you could have developed on your wing, and could have did that way, and a big man that could shoot free throws and stuff like that. On top of that,
yes, true, very true.
That's my concern. That's just like the shooting concerns with this Lakers team is my concern.
Well, I don't know. The thing is, I don't know how much we see DeAndre Jordan. I mean, we know Dwight Howard is definitely going to come in and he's going to play a huge impact on his team. How much do Sekou Doumbouya gets in? That's going to be another thing. So it's going to be very interesting.
And like you, Sequoia, that's a player I'm talking about. Getting like a young guy and developing him, and you just go from there. But we'll talk course of the season about the Lakers and all these teams in this division. But thank you for tuning in with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I get my words out. Thank you for tuning in with us. Thank you to the chat joining us tonight. Shout out to Terry Rodriguez, Larry B, the head man at IE Sports Radio. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Gina in the chat as well. So thank y'all for tuning in with us tonight. D-Lock, how can the people find you on social media?
You guys can definitely find me at Black-813 on Twitter and Instagram. I do tweet a lot of crazy stuff, especially when my team is playing, so make sure you guys tune in. Let them know where they can find you at, man.
You can find me on Twitter at Spawn4288. That is Spawn4288. Also, do follow us on Twitter at FastBreak@IESR. That is FastBreak@IESR. Also, do check out IESportsRadio.com. You can catch all the shows here on our network, where we have shows on all 32 major NFL markets. So, do check in to the website to catch all the shows on our network. Also, I do another show on the side called The Chris Process. If you follow the show on Facebook and Instagram, you see the CP logo. Please do give me a follow there. I will be definitely dropping an episode on Tuesday, so be on the lookout for that. But till then, ladies and gentlemen, the NBA season tips off on Tuesday. We'll be live tweeting throughout the day, and we will talk about all the action going on in the week come next Sunday. But till then, we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.
Out. NBA back.